Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 6 of the Whips Nation podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and our guest today is Whipsnakes midfielder and 2020 PLL champion, TJ Comizio. TJ talks to us about his approach to training in the offseason, growing up in Jersey, and much more. It's going to be a good one, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right. Happy May the 4th, Star Wars Day. We have TJ Comizio here. TJ, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Happy to be on.
Happy to be on May the 4th. So, are you a Star Wars fan at all? Do you observe?
I don't observe, but I've seen the movies before. It's been a little while, but I have seen them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a bigger fan of the older ones than the new Star Wars movies. But you have to watch. If you're gonna watch one movie today, what would it be for Star Wars Day? Like which movie?
Oh, jeez, I don't even know them by name, so I'm not that big of a fan. I have seen like the older ones, like where you can tell the graphics are definitely outdated. But
Yeah.
if I had to, I couldn't even name like which would be my favorite. So I'm not a very big fan, I guess.
So if you're not a fan of Star Wars, I mean, like what kind of movies are you watching?
I am a pretty big movie guy, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
But just not Star Wars, I guess. My favorite, one of my favorite, I guess, like series, not necessarily that any of them are my favorite movie, but my favorite series might be The Hunger Games. I love,
Oh, okay.
I'm a big Hunger Games fan. But in terms of like individual movies, my favorite might be like, it's a mix of like sports ones and like Remember the Titans is one of my favorites.
So
Friday Night
good.
Lights and Miracle are like top three, but I also love like The Breakfast Club, like an older one, is one of my favorites. So probably one of those four.
Nice. Yeah, I love sports movies too. I always watch the Mighty Ducks movies when I was a kid,
Yeah,
and then we'd always watch Miracle on the bus rides to away
exactly.
games and everything.
Yeah, I was a hockey player when I was little, so like that's what we would watch at tournaments and stuff when the whole team would be getting together between games.
That's awesome. And then like of course someone's got to make a joke at the on the line again, like, just because
No,
I don't know if you had any
one of the
coaches.
best.
If you had any coaches growing up that was just like a total crazy guy on conditioning.
Yeah, I've had a few.
Really.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're your favorite coaches though. Obviously not when they're having you get to the end line and run sprints all the time. But some of those guys, they push you hard, but then you get a lot better.
yeah, no, it's for the better.
And looking back, like you always remember those moments, like with your teammates, running those suicides or running 70s or 17s or like whatever kind of conditioning that you did. How much is there any team conditioning that you guys do, or as the Whipsnakes, or do you guys just have so much like game planning to input to your plans that you don't really have time for that?
So, I mean, last year in Utah, and that was my first year, and we didn't really like do conditioning when we were out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you get up and down a lot over the course of practice, so
Right.
you're conditioning like disguised in drills and stuff, but it wasn't like we were just getting on the end line and running. I mean, maybe the part of that is because we do have a limited amount of time on the field together, so there's more important stuff that we got to try to hammer out. But I think kind of everyone's pretty, if you're still playing now, like at this level, you're kind of on top of that stuff on your own. So like most guys are showing up in shape. I don't know that we really need to be spending some of that, the few hours a week we get on the field together for practice on conditioning.
Gotcha. So what are your expectations for camp? The PLL announced today that you guys would be training at Gillette. What are your expectations this year? How do you think it differs from last year, with respect to the preseason camp?
Yeah, so I mean, I think last year, like camp, it was about the same timeline. Like camp was like a week long last year, but we had, right on the heels of that 1 week camp, we had the entire season, even though it was only like 6 games or whatever it was. There was no break. We were going, finishing camp on a Friday and playing the first game Saturday, and then you don't get a break, maybe a day or two. I think this year, I should say,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little more like they're not going to have to hold back as much because we got that full week, and then you have one game at the end of the week, but then you get the week off and it's back to like a normal summer schedule. So, I mean, I think to some extent you're going to have to save your legs a little bit for that first weekend game, but I think more so this year than last year. Guys are going to be able to get after it a little bit more, get up and down a little bit more. They're not going to have to save their legs as much because, you know, you just got that one game at the end of it, and then you get that week off and back to the normal summer schedule.
So this year with the MLL merger and then obviously the super talented incoming college draft class, do you see sort of camp as almost like a trial, like a proving ground for a lot of those guys to see, you know, who can make that roster at the end of the week? How hard do you think guys are going to go in those first 3 days to sort of just show, you know, the coaching staff what they have?
Yeah, definitely. I think it not just for the college guys and the MLL guys. I think for pretty much everyone there.
Yep.
It's a tryout. Like you said, this college draft class is super talented, and you know the MLL guys are really, really good. I mean, I that was my first year out of college. I played in the MLL before coming over, so I know like firsthand how good all those guys are. So I think it's definitely going to be competitive. And like I said, I don't think it's just going to be the MLL and college guys trying to win spots. I think it's going to be like the current team that carried over trying to keep their spots. So I think it's definitely going to be a competitive camp. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So one of those guys coming in you're very familiar with. That's Connor Kirst, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we he's at Rutgers now,
Yep.
Doing his 5th year. But like, I don't think everyone really realizes that this is his first year at Rutgers. Like he did his first, like his full 4 years of undergrad at Villanova.
Yep.
And we played together for 3 years at Villanova. But even before that, I mean, we live like less than 10 minutes away from each other. We were the same grade in high school, played all 4 grades in high school together. And then when I went to Villanova for my freshman year, he PG'd and then came and joined me the next year. So we played, you know, like 7 or 8 of the last 10 years or whatever that we've been playing together. So I was fired up when we picked him up. I'm excited to get to play with him again.
That's awesome. Did you reach out to him or did he reach out to you when he got drafted?
It was both. I mean, we've been talking like the whole week leading up to it. And even before that, you know, he got off to a pretty hot start this season. And I texted him a couple times telling him he might need to cool off a little bit so he can slide down to 7 in the draft. But Stags and I talked a little bit about it last year because, I mean, I was trying to tell Stags that we should take a look at him. But Stags had said, like, we can't pick him up if he's going to go back to school. So I knew he was on Stags' radar to begin with. And Stags is a Jersey guy, so he knew who he was already. And then, I mean, there wasn't much of a sales job that needed to be done if you watched him play this year.
Say no more.
Yeah. So I didn't have to say much. But when he got picked, I was kind of watching it. Like, I thought picks 1 through 4 were pretty set in stone. Like, I had a pretty good idea. I think everyone had a pretty good idea that Teat and Sowers in some order, we're going to go 1 and 2 overall.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that the Redwoods were going to go TD at 4. So I was just kind of hoping that he wouldn't go 5 or 6 to.
Well, I thought that TD was going to go 3. The Giles pick totally shocked me at 3.
Well, I just knew, like, I thought I could have seen the same thing happening. I just knew, like, the Redwoods had a pretty, like, they seemed like they were all in on going after a face-off guy, so I wasn't as worried about the Redwoods taking him. It was like the 5-6 spot where I was a little nervous, and when he fell there, I kind of texted him, like, you know, like the eyes emoji, like this might happen. Like, I couldn't believe he was still there. And then when it got to 7 and he hadn't been picked yet, I was just like, I had a good feeling about it, and then kind of simultaneously texted each other when it happened. But yeah, it was very exciting for sure.
So give me your favorite Connor Kirst story, whether that be in high school, college. Like, what's your favorite memory?
A lot. I don't know how many are appropriate to say on the podcast, but I mean, there's been a lot. He, like I said, we went to high school and college together, so he's one of my best friends. And you know, a lot of good on the field, off the field stories, but I don't know how many of them are PG to share on here. But he's a character. He's going to be a good addition to the locker room for sure.
So the locker room seems like a really important part of, you know, being on the Whipsnakes. Your guys' locker room was just like totally in sync last year. What was kind of your role in the locker room? And what that could be, you know, before the game, you know, during the game, like what's your role there?
I mean, I think like as a new guy coming into the team, like you don't have like a set in stone role. And it wasn't just me. it was me, Zed from the entry draft. We had, some new pieces that hadn't played the year before, like Brad Smith and Max Tuttle. Like, so there was a couple guys coming in and as like a young guy, you're not saying much. Like, you just kind of like try to play hard on the field and like figure out what your role is going to be. Like, we have like a pretty clear, everyone has a voice in the locker room, but like there's pretty clear like veteran leadership on our team, with guys like Jake Bernhardt and Mike Earhart at the defensive end of the field. So just kind of fall in line behind those guys, try to like learn and soak up as much as you can from the older, more veteran guys in the room, and just play hard on the field. I mean, I don't know that there's like set roles like that. It's kind of like you said, we do have a great locker room, and they made the new guys feel very comfortable right away. So it wasn't too much of like an acclimation process. But yeah, I mean, just when you're coming in new, just doing what you can to help out and trying to find out where you can help out and where you can fit in.
So I know Dunn is super excited to have the fans back in the stands this year. Do you pretty much share that sentiment?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't played a PLL game with fans yet.
Wow.
In the MLL, we had some good turnouts. Like Denver and Chesapeake would get some good turnouts. But I watched a lot of those PLL games on TV, especially the playoffs, and the atmospheres looked electric. So I'm super, super excited to see what kind of turnouts we get at the games this year.
Because like as an athlete, you play your whole entire career, with fans, and it's just something that, you're used to. Now, Dunn said that they pumped in some artificial fan noise to just sort of, is that more for the athletes, do you think, or more for the TV coverage?
Maybe a little bit of both. I honestly don't know what it sounded like on the TV broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the games afterwards, but I can't really remember. I know you could hear like the goal horn, but there was definitely like some music going throughout the game and like crowd noise going throughout the game, but like you almost just like you don't even really like hear it until
it's like white noise.
Timeout. Until like a timeout or something, you don't like really like fully understand like that there's music going on and noise in the background. But I think it was just to kind of make it feel a little bit more normal for the players, which was nice because it wasn't just like dead silent the whole time. But like I said, I don't think it's made too much of a difference. Once you get going, you just kind of don't really realize that it's going on around you.
So looking at the schedule for this upcoming year, are there any PLL weekend locations that sort of, jump off the page a little bit? Like, man, I'm super excited to play, at Homewood or here or there. Are there any of those locations that you're really excited to play at?
Yeah, so I'm from New Jersey, so the closest one to me is Hofstra, and I've played at Hofstra like every level. Like I played youth tournaments there. We played at Hofstra in college. In the MLL, we played against the Lizards there, and I think that's one of the best lacrosse stadiums there is. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure there'll be a great turnout. It's 4th of July weekend. And then the other one I guess I would have to say is I actually watched the game the last time they played at Homewood against, I think it was the Atlas a couple years ago. And I know like this one's a Friday night at Homewood, and I've never played at Hopkins before, so that would be one that I'm looking forward to too.
That was probably my second favorite game of the 2019 season, was that Homewood game against Atlas. That was
it was awesome. There was such a great crowd there. It looked really, really cool.
Yeah, and you said you were there.
I watched it like on my computer, TV, or wherever I was watching it. But that was one of the games that I was able to tune in for live that summer, and you could just tell like the environment there seemed like it seemed like a good time.
Oh, dude, we could feel that energy, through the computer screen. Just imagine being there, like, oh man.
No, you could tell.
And it's such like it's not too big of a stadium, so that you get enough guys in there, you could fill that thing, pack it up, and make it look like a really, really, really good atmosphere.
That's the tough part about like NFL stadiums is that even when there's a lot of people, they feel empty, but places like that, like Homewood or Hofstra, like they feel full when there's a good amount of fans in there. So those are cool places to play.
Yeah, it's kind of like an intimate sort of environment. It's really cool.
Definitely.
So I'm going to give you a chance to brag about yourself a little bit here. Coming into this year, what's like your like most confident, asset about your playing style that you think that it's going to help out the Whips this season? Like, have you been working on anything from last year?
I mean, nothing like new this year versus
Hmm.
any other year. I mean, I feel like in terms of like what I work on in the off season, between seasons has been pretty consistent from the time I was in college to now. Just trying to keep like a good mix of, being in the weight room and being on the field and trying to keep my stick in my hands. I feel like it's worked for me in the past, like the kind of stuff that I've been doing. So nothing too crazy, like not trying to change up too much, just trying to make sure I show up in good shape with my legs underneath me and ready to kind of hit the ground running.
So how long does it take for you to get into lacrosse shape? Because I know anybody can, go run and get in shape, but I think playing shape's just something totally different. How long does it take for you guys to sort of, find your stride and get into lacrosse shape?
Yeah, I agree. Totally different. And I honestly, like, I've always thought this since I was like a freshman in college, like no
Yeah.
matter how much I run in the summer or in the off season, like that first practice when you are getting dodged on or getting up and down the field, and there's some contact involved, like you're always more sore. Like for some reason, I've just felt like
Yep.
no matter what I do, like getting in game shape always takes like a little bit of playing to get there. So I mean, but I think like if you show up in shape, like I think by the end of that first week, you're kind of back in the groove of like actually playing in like lacrosse movements and stuff, especially if we're playing every day. I don't think it takes like too long to get back into it, but those
Yeah.
first couple of days are definitely tough.
Yeah, that's why having such a good training camp is so important, just so that you're not feeling that way after your first game.
Exactly. No, it's you got to use it as a chance to get yourself ready to go in the game.
So what are you doing to get ready right now? Like, is there a field that you go at? Do you do any like shooting, agility stuff?
Yeah. So like I think I would say like in the past like months leading up to it, I was like trying to be like focused more like in the weight room, like working out a little bit more. And as we get closer and closer to the season, it's been a little more shift, like a little bit more away from that to more time like on the field, with my stick in my hands, trying to, like I said, get my legs back underneath me, working on like some
Yeah.
footwork and conditioning. There's a bunch of fields like around me here. Like my high school is like only 10 minutes away, but there's a facility like 10, 15 minutes away from me that I've been going to with a couple other PLL guys. The only other Whipsnakes guy is Brad Smith, who grew up around me too. We get like a group of like 4 or 5 guys who go to this like indoor field slash weight room, to throw the ball around, shoot, run, footwork, lift, like whatever we're kind of feeling that day. So it's been good to be able to do that with some other guys, because it's one thing to do it by yourself. Like it's not as easy to push yourself, but when you're around a good group of guys, it definitely makes it a little bit easier to get after it.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's so much harder to train on your own, than if you have a good group of guys to come and train with. Tell me, is Brad's mustache as amazing as it is on TV, like in person, or is it better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's longer now. I haven't seen
Really?
him in like it's been like a week, I think, or a week and a half since he was last there.
Hmm.
But last time he was there, he still had it. I think it was longer than Utah, but I don't know if he's planning to keep it for this summer or not.
I feel like
I don't
he's
know.
got
That'd be a
to.
good. He'd be a good guest to have on with this. The mustache would look good on the camera, but I don't know. He was talking about maybe shaving it. I'm not sure if he's going to keep it or not. We'll see. That's something to look forward to.
So, as a Duke alum, do you ever ask him about if he's going to be rooting on his squad this year, or what
He
his opinions are on the current Duke team? Because
he, he
they
is
look pretty good.
he is rooting them on. The last time we
Yeah.
were there, they had just beaten one of those teams like Notre Dame or UNC on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the day before, because him and I, like our grade, we're still like not that far removed from it. So a lot of the
Right.
guys on the team he's played with, so he's still in touch with a lot of those guys. And I mean, they're having a great year. I'm sure they're gonna make a run here at the end of the season, but we'll see what happens.
So they just lost to North Carolina. They tried coming back. It was kind of like a late push. They
Hmm.
just couldn't get it done. If you were to rank the top 5 teams in college lacrosse, where would you rank them right now after this past week? I know it's
I don't
hard.
know. I feel like, I mean, I still think Duke and North Carolina are definitely like top 5 teams. I think like the question is, this year's been so weird with
Yeah.
so many teams not playing out of conference. Like you watch Maryland play and they look like a machine, but like
Yeah.
the best team they've played is I think Rutgers is really good too.
Rutgers is
But
really
like
good.
it's
Yeah.
tough when you love to see like Maryland playing these ACCs to see like, are they that much better than everyone else, or are they right on par with the ACCs? I think it's got to be some combination of Maryland, Duke, UNC, and like Notre Dame and Virginia. I think those are probably the top 5-ish. I think like Rutgers right on the brink there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's so hard to tell how talented and how good a team is based off, just their competition. Even if their competition plays another school, just because A beats B doesn't mean that they can also beat C type of thing. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, so much of it is matchup driven that it
Yeah,
kind of depends
definitely.
on who. It depends on who. I agree. I don't know how the rankings or the selection committee, like those are some tough decisions, but I agree. It kind of all depends on the day, and teams match up better against certain guys and certain teams that it's hard to really compare.
It is, and it can be in a lot of different factors as well that can come to play. I mean, if a goalie's having an amazing game, that could totally turn the tide and change things. If a goalie's getting 19, 20 saves,
Mm-hmm.
um, I know Duke's goalie kind of has like go up and down games, but I think so far he's had like one of the best years as a Duke goalie that I've ever seen. He's been playing really well, Adler. I think he's been getting like 15, 16 saves
Yeah,
a
he
game
has.
plus. It's just
That's
crazy.
you get like a hot goalie in May. I mean,
Yeah.
when Virginia won it a couple of years ago, I think their goalie was like the most outstanding player of the Final Four. Like that. I mean, you get a hot goalie at the playoffs, you could definitely make a run on the heels of that.
Oh, it makes all the difference. I mean, for you guys, like when Bernlohr starts heating up, all he has to do, dude, if he gets like 2, 3 solid saves in the first quarter, he could just ride that train like all the way through the game. Like he doesn't get phased at all.
No, yeah, I mean that's every game for him. He's like
Yeah.
he is one of the best, if not the best. That's just he's solid as it gets back there. I mean the whole defense. That they're all just so good, and they on top of that they play so well together that they don't give up too many easy looks. But if they do, when they do, it seems like more often than not Kyle's there to bail us out. So he is definitely exactly what you're talking about there.
How do you like playing aside Jared Bernhardt? Jake, sorry.
No, yeah, you're good.
I was thinking about Maryland and then how their current season's going and how
Yeah.
Jared's absolutely going crazy.
Oh my God, yeah. He's probably gonna win the tour on this year, but
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Jake's like he was one of those guys I mentioned before, is like a kind of a veteran leader on the team. Like he's a guy who playing the same position, like definitely helped me out like in the first couple of weeks we were there, just kind of like helping me understand stuff, and more than not even so much just like walking me through stuff, but that's just someone that that I was constantly like trying to watch to see like what I can pick up on and do that he's doing, and try to make sure I'm doing the same things. But in terms of like playing alongside him on the field, I mean, him and all the other guys, I mean, playing alongside like Mike Earhart too, like I think like one of the best things about our defense is like I said, how well they play together. Like everyone covers up so many of the mistakes that other people might make.
Right.
Not that they're making many, but like sometimes I'd think to myself like after a game like, oh, like I screwed this up or that up, and I would go back and watch it and I'm like, it didn't even look that bad. Like Mike or Dunn like hedged and you like couldn't even notice, and it's just like they're like all kind of like erasers for mistakes that you make on the field. So I mean, I definitely feel fortunate to be part of that group. They're an easy bunch to kind of hop in with and play with.
What are some technical things that he showed you on the field that maybe you didn't know before that he's helped you out this past season?
Yeah, I mean, not so much. I mean, Jake too, but all of them. Like, I think a big difference for me, and for everyone, I'm sure that like makes the jump from like college to pro, or then like coming over from the MLL to the PLL, and like, when you're like realizing like how good everybody is, and like, there's no like one midi on them like out there at any time, that you can kind of relax a little bit when you're covering. Like, and when you're in college, like pretty much everyone who's playing in the that's playing professionally was like one of the better players, if not the best players on your teams. And like for me personally in college, like as a short stick, like part of our like game plan was like we shouldn't have to slide to you. Like do what you have to do to win your one-on-one matchup, and hopefully we won't have to slide. Like if you get beat, we'll go. Very different this summer in terms of like there's no like real like egos playing defense. It's just like kind of play within the system. If you got to force a guy to a certain space on the field, force him to that space on the field, like, and we'll slide to it. Like don't let guys roll back to the middle, like stuff like that. So kind of making sure that I erase like that past memory of just worry about winning your matchup, and don't have to make the other guys worry about sliding to you, and just kind of worry more about like fitting in to the team defense. Because when that group that we've got is all on the same page and playing well, we're tough to beat.
How often do you guys change up your defensive scheme within like the time of like a game? Like do you guys come out, man's not working, okay, let's switch to a zone, let's switch to a hybrid? Like what's that process look like for you, and how often do you guys switch during a game?
So we would like before, like Coach Murph does a great job, like Coach Staggs and Coach Grady, like in terms of getting like a game plan ready for us and watching the other team and kind of deciding what we need to do. And I know you and Dunn talked about this, about how we'll kind of try to decide like what we want to do in terms of what we want to take away from the other team and what we want to give them and force them to do. So we'll have that like predetermined going in. And then, I don't think we didn't switch up too much. We didn't really play zone at all, but like we would make like some like smaller adjustments in terms of like sliding to certain people or maybe switching matchups. But like we had a good enough group that I feel like even if something wasn't necessarily working like right away, like for the chaos game in the championship, for example, like we didn't change anything too drastic. We just kind of, like in the huddles, it was like the ball's going to start bouncing our way. Just like keep doing what we've been doing, like stick to what we've been doing, and we'll be all right. So there really wasn't much kind of jumping around between stuff on the fly. That's
good. I mean, when you guys know you're good at something, you kind of just have to stick to it. Stay the course, if you will. Because exactly, you're right. Yeah. The talent is so high. If you look at the talent of the PLL, especially after the MLL merger, this previous draft, you guys are the tip of the spear, the tip of the tip. You know what I mean? The best guys on, high school played at those college teams, and the best guys on those college teams now play in the PLL. And you guys are going up against that level of talent every single week. So Dunn was absolutely correct. He's like, you just have to figure out what they like to do and try to limit that as like much as you can, and then hope the offense delivers and puts in goals. So that's
exactly. No, they're the other teams, like you're gonna get scored on, like the best players in the world. Like stuff's not gonna work all the time, but like you said, just kind of staying the course and doing what we talked about doing, and in the end for us that worked out more times than not.
Who is the most difficult player to game plan for this past year?
Jeez, there's a lot.
I know it's hard.
I think like the most in terms of when we played a team, and like the most singular focus we put on one player, I would say like probably like Schreiber and the Archers. Like just like knowing that anytime he had the ball, like we need to be like super like ready to be ready to help him if need be, or ready to take away his strengths. But I mean, he's great with both hands. He can shoot, he can pass, and he can really hurt you. And like he's going to get his, like you said, he's just you got to try to limit him a little bit. But he was one that, in terms of like going to the game and talking about like one player, like more than usual, like he's one that definitely demands, as much, if not more, respect than anybody that we're going to game plan for.
Yeah, you got to slide quick, and he really likes those high wing dodges, like just sweeps across the middle.
Yeah, and he's fast.
And he is, exactly.
Yeah, he is really, really good.
So how do you stop that? You just slide early.
We tried to. I mean, we had Mike on him, so like that's better start than most teams have. When you can throw Earhart out there and have them go one-on-one, but just try to, if they would do a lot of two-man game stuff for him, and just try to like go out and put pressure on him, not let him sweep easily, like try to make contact or turn him back. But I think Mike did a great job on him when we did play him, and anyone who was on him, Brett or any of the other polls. But just like when we talked about take away the middle, stuff like that, like, and then just go out there and try to be physical with them. And Mike did well, and I don't think he hurt us. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think he hurt us too bad when we played. He definitely had some points, but I think we were able to kind of do enough to win that one.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, TJ, for hopping on. I appreciate your time. Before we cut out, if you could just share one thing non-lacrosse related with the Whips fans, I'd appreciate it.
Non-lacrosse related. I'm from New Jersey, but I'm a big Eagles fan, Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Oh.
My mom's from right outside Philly, and her brothers, like my uncles, are pretty crazy Eagles fans, and they got to my brother and I when we were younger, and then going to school in Villanova, like outside of Philly, kind of was awesome to be so close to them. And I was there when they won the Super Bowl. Like I was at school when they won the Super Bowl, so that was awesome. But yeah, it's a little fun fact, I guess.
Yeah, no. So how do you feel about the draft? Because we just finished with that last week.
I mean, better than recent years. For like getting Devontae Smith was awesome. I didn't think he was gonna. I was hoping he was gonna fall that far, but I was pumped that they traded up and got him before the Giants. Because I was shocked the Cowboys traded with them, but definitely fired up to get him.
It was such a crazy draft, man, with teams moving up and a lot of quarterbacks taken in the first round. So
a lot
that probably helped contribute to letting you guys get Devontae. So
no, it definitely did, but we'll take it.
We'll take it. I know Rambo's a big Eagles fan too.
He is. Yeah, I think Bryce Young also. He's a South Jersey guy, so there's a couple.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. All right, man. Well, where can people find you on socials?
I'm just at TJ Comizio, no spaces, on both Instagram and Twitter. So pretty simple there.
Yeah, making it easy. Well, Thank you again, TJ. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Perfect. If you made it here to the end of the video, go ahead and comment down below your favorite part of the interview, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please go hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more Whipsnakes content.